So please help me welcome Tim Draper.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much. This is a great honor. You know, I'm filling in for Charlene Borshevsky, who is the U.S. trade rep, and she negotiated the WTO agreement with China. So I think I'll cover the WTO agreement as we go here. You know, it was a good idea, WTO. I basically was the guy who took advantage of the WTO agreement. But actually, we've been trading with China long before they did the WTO agreement. So this is really cool. I'm using an iPhone to move these things forward and back. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. I was here about 5 years ago with the AAMA and had a wonderful outcome. Lots of good entrepreneurs came out of the presentation. So now this is what this is my picture of what venture capital is. This was the history of venture capital, and it says, "I call my invention the wheel, but so far I've been unable to attract any venture capital." So this is the inspiration that comes from an entrepreneur, and we just kind of, as venture capitalists, just shave off the edges. So a little bit on the history of venture capital. Queen Isabella was the first venture capitalist on record. She paid for 3 ships for Columbus to go to America, and the deal was she'd split the profits 50-50 with Columbus, and Columbus then went to his crew and he said, "Okay, we get half the profits, and I'm going to split those with you guys, 50-50. And that's pretty much the way venture capital has worked ever since. 2 generals started venture capital in America, and one was my grandfather on the West Coast and General Dorio on the East Coast, and they each funded big, huge, many billion-dollar companies, and they did it with, you know, $25,000 or something at that time. So we're hoping that that model comes back. Now, but like everything else, when you finally go into Chinese history, you recognize that the first venture capitalist was really the Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty, who funded Zhang Qin. I'm sure I've got that pronunciation exactly right. Who created the Silk Road, and of course the Silk Road connected lots of different great Asian countries, and they all benefited from all the trade that went on. Once again, trade is the theme here. So now a little ad for us. We're very well branded. There's a lot of genetic dilution from my grandfather to my father to me, but I'm doing my best. And venture capital has really changed over the course of many, many years. And the way it's changed is that it's opened up. It's become available to people all over the world. And so the way we look at venture capital, this is our competitive analysis, is to look at venture capital from the point of global reach and brand awareness, because that is where it's a venture capitalist network that becomes the most valuable to any entrepreneur. The brand attracts the entrepreneur, and the reach allows us to find entrepreneurs anywhere around the globe. And so we're very pleased to be pioneering this new direction in venture capital. This is a little bit more about us. Number one. This is what our network looks like right now, and I hope, although some of my partners always want to pare it down, I hope to continue to expand it. It has been terrific for deal flow. It's been great for market intelligence, and we have a very powerful Rolodex. We can connect anyone to anyone around the world through this great network. And you know, if you need an introduction to somebody at Samsung, we've got the guys from DFJ Athena can help us with that, or you need somebody Ford Motor Company, the guys at Draper Triangle can help you with that, or somebody in Brazil, our DFJ Fear group, can help with that. So it really has helped a lot of our entrepreneurs. Now this is interesting because these are our exits post the bubble. After the bubble happened, our greatest exits have all come from outside the Silicon Valley. And this is our, we were the first venture capitalist to invest in the internet. We were the first ones. Now, there were a lot of firsts that we did that didn't really work out, but these were the ones that did. We were the first to create a network, first Silicon Valley venture capitalist to set up a global network. Our China investing began in 1999. That makes us among the first and probably the first Silicon Valley venture capitalists to go after China. My first trip to China was 25 years ago, and it was a wonderful trip. I went, I went and got in the only car on the only highway to the only international hotel in Beijing. Everybody else was on bicycles. It was just an unbelievable experience for me. And then when I went back to China, I saw this incredible progress. And every time I go back, I realize that China has really gotten to be one of the greatest, possibly the greatest country of the world. We were also very early in clean tech investing. Our clean tech investing started in 1988. So we tend to be pioneers. Sometimes we get the arrows in our back, and sometimes we get the jewels. Now, people say, oh, venture capital model's broken, this is the end of the world, nobody should ever start another business, whatever. I thought about that. My God, we've had like 8 years of very few exits. It's been a really tough time. And then we had this economic crisis. I thought, oh, God, is that the end of the world or what? And then I thought, well, let's look at it with a historical perspective. And I noticed that what happens is the venture capital business has these 8-year runs and then comes crashing down. And then the PE business has these runs, and that comes crashing down, and then we have a recession. Then the venture capital business goes up and comes crashing down. PE business up and crashes down. And so like this first one from, say, 58 to 68, that was just my grandfather and General Dorio. But they had a couple of good years, and then it came crashing down. And then they had all these mergers, and it was this merger mania time. They had a bunch of companies that were merging and then firing half their team and merging and growing that way. And then that came down, and they had a big recession, 73, 74. The venture capital business then took off, and at the peak there in 82, 83, we had Steve Jobs on the cover of Time magazine and Arthur Rock on the cover of Time magazine. And then that came crashing down. And then these LBOs came where, at the peak there, the guys who bought out the Oreos, the RJR and Nabisco guys were the big news. And then that came crashing down. We had another recession. Then the venture capital business took off again. And we had our dot-com boom. And then that crashed. And then the PE business took off. And then that crashed. And so it's our time, baby. Venture capital is a great thing. It's funded many, many different kinds of companies, not just in IT, but also you can see in solar panels, electric cars, space launches, wind energy, genetics, MRI, DVDs, stents, lasers. And now I'll go through a few of our companies. This is BrightSource. They do solar thermal. And when I first heard about it, I was really amazed at what how simple the concept was and how complex the system is. These are millions of mirrors that all point to a big vat of water. The water then boils inside the vat, turns into steam. The steam then drives a steam turbine, and the turbine then sends out electricity. And now they have orders for $10 billion from PG&E and Southern Cal Edison. So very exciting new clean technology.